Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this live broadcast as part of the A4Q Congress second edition. My name is Debbie Archer, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have with me Klaudia Dussa-Zieger from Imbus, also the chairperson of the German Testing Board, the vice president of the ISTQB, and the stream lead for the development of the ISTQB Certified Tester AI certification. Klaudia, I'm going to pass over to you because I know that you've got a lot of information to share. And can I encourage everybody, please, to pop some questions into the comments box on social media. And I know that Klaudia will look forward to answering those at the end of the presentation. Over to you, Klaudia.
Debbie, thank you so very much, and also welcome from my side. I'm very happy and actually honored that I get the chance to talk about the AI testing syllabus. I am the stream lead, or I was the stream lead, and it is really something that has grown to my heart. I think it's very important, very thrilling, and I want to talk to you about that. The presentation is actually called ISTQB and AI, Take the Two. And I see it a little bit, like a cocktail recipe. You take ISTQB, you take AI, you take the entire ecosystem around it, you shake a little bit, and then you get something really, really valuable at the end. And I hope you're going to like it and enjoy it as much as I do. The presentation is split into three parts. First, I will very briefly introduce to you ISTQB from the point of view of the mission and vision, what we really try to achieve. And then I will go equally briefly into the history of AI. What is AI and why is it so important to us right now? What is the industry penetration of AI techniques? And then actually the major part will be, how did we come to a common syllabus for the ISTQB, which deals with testing of AI system or AI testing. And I will go into some content to show you what actually is covered by the syllabus. And that will actually then also conclude the presentation. And if you have any questions, please, we are, entre nous, we are a smaller crowd, I think. Please ask them. Don't be shy and hesitate, just go ahead. So let's get started. ISTQB. What is ISTQB? ISTQB is the International Software Testing Qualification Boards. The intention is to provide knowledge, to provide common practices, to provide best practices for software testing, and to improve and advance the software testing profession. So we're talking about knowledge, know-how, techniques, practices that are relevant for tester. And if we go back a little further, ISTQB was founded around 2002. Back then we had 8 countries that decided to join and come up with a common curriculum, common syllabus, what a tester should all know. And since then, ISTQB has been a real success story. From the 8 boards that actually started, we have now 66 member boards. And you can see on the map that the geographical coverage is breathtaking. We have more than 1 million exams. We do have a pass and fail rate. So we're only talking roughly about 750 certificates. But a lot of people have passed the ISTQB, the foundation level certificate, and we have a common understanding, a common terminology throughout the world, whether you talk to somebody who took the exam in Japan or somebody in Europe or somebody in South America. So this is really very, very impressive. It's really a wonderful story, a wonderful success story. And part of the story is that we also want to continually advance the testing profession. So it's not like we came up with a syllabus once and that's stuck till the end of time, but we want to learn. Industry is evolving, software development is evolving, IT is evolving. We are talking about agile, we're talking about DevOps, we're talking about continuous integration, continuous deployment. So there is a lot of change, and this change of course also has to be reflected, and we want to capture that, we want to adapt to it, and we want to provide but for the new trends we also want to provide body of knowledge so that people can learn from it and apply it to their daily jobs. And the intention is also to open up to a community to share ideas, to share knowledge, and to share innovation in software testing. Now, with this information as a background, you can have a look at the current product portfolio, and you can see that the certified tester here at the bottom, of course, is still our main part, or the core, the heart of the entire scheme. But we also have a lot of specialist modules going into the direction of test automation, going into the direction of model-based testing or of mobile testing. So there is already a lot that has been growing around the foundation level, or around the what we call the core stream, where we talk about the foundation level, and then also about the test manager profile, about the test analyst profile, about the technical test analyst profile, what they all should know. And as I said, we're continuously thriving to improve the portfolio. What does the market need? Actually, we are market driven, and every now and then we do surveys, and this, what you see on the screen right now, is actually the survey from ISTQB coming back from 2017, 2018. And the question I show on the screen is just one out of a whole set of questions, but this is the one that is actually relevant for the presentation today. So we asked, what new technologies or topics or subjects do you see as important for the testing industry? And the topmost is security, with more than 50%. Security, we also covered, not also, but we already covered. So security testing is a module that is out there. It's currently being reworked. There will be two, it's going to be split. So, but we're covered. For security testing, we have something that people can refer to. And then the next one is actually AI testing. And for AI, we had nothing in place. So the task was to come up and develop something for the test of artificial intelligence, or AI-based systems, or how to use AI for testing. So that was topic number 2. And this is actually what I'm going to present to you. So I think this pretty much covers ISTQB. I would assume, since the World Congress is an ISTQB conference, you all know about it, so I don't need to talk about it more. Now, the second part is about artificial intelligence. And if you start looking into that topic, you will very fastly recognize that this is nothing new. AI has been around for more than 80 years. The term artificial intelligence was coined by the Dartmouth conference, which took place in 56. And 56, that's today, we have 2021, so that's already 65 years ago. And if you look into AI, you can see different periods of growth, and then also different, what they call AI winters in between. So AI has been going up and down in like kind of a wave moving forward. So the early days of AI, people started to look into two directions, not only in the early days of AI, in general. If you look at AI, it encompasses a lot of things, but mostly you have two directions. Either you try to do something with reasoning systems, or you try to model the human brain. And this is actually what we have in the tiny little figure up here. So in this first period, we had the very first model of a neuron, a perceptron, that was modeled by Rosenblatt, where you have a neuron here in the middle, you have inputs, you have an activation function, you have a threshold, and you get something out. So that was the very first model, how to actually see it as a mathematical formula. So that was one. And the other one was deduction techniques. We're talking about propositional logic. I'm not sure if you have studied computer science. I had to do all these and, or, nor connections back in my first grade lecture. So propositional logic, that started back then. And then in the next phase, the systems became larger. Instead of talking of a single neuron, we're now talking about networks. So they're interconnected. Instead of talking of propositional logic, we're going into the direction of predicate logic. So the deduction systems are getting bigger. Programming languages that are explicitly dedicated to formulate logic have been developed. Lisp has been developed. Prolog has been developed. And the development still continues. So knowledge-based systems came around. mostly used in the medical domain. So knowledge-based systems or mathematical systems based on probabilities, on probabilistic reasoning, so multi-valued logic. That all came around. And as I just said, between the
Hello, everybody. So sorry about that. We seem to be having some connection problems with Claudia in Germany, and hopefully she'll be back with us very, very soon. In the meantime, if you have thought about some questions, then please do pop them into the chat, and we'll ask those to Claudia at the end of the session. Please bear with us. Hopefully it'll only be a few seconds, and we'll have her back, and she'll continue with her presentation. Good morning, Martin Roman. Nice to see you here. Just a quick shout out to the team here. Perhaps you could drop me a little note and give me an update. So while we're waiting, just a quick mention about the social event later on today, Oktoberfest. Perhaps you were with us earlier on when Stefan Gorica and Werner Henschelchen did the kickoff for the session, and we were promised Lederhosen and a Dirndl. For those of you who perhaps aren't familiar with the term Dirndl, it's the traditional Bavarian type dress that you often see ladies wearing. So I must say that brought a bit of a smile to my face. And let's see which of them is going to be sharing that with us later. To join Oktoberfest, we're actually using a platform called Gather Town, and we will share some information hopefully in a moment, perhaps in the banner, so you know exactly how to do that. Andrea, perhaps you could just put a banner across to share that. Okay, now we have Claudia. Hello, Claudia.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My computer decided to go down. So
it happens. It happens.
Oh my God, Thank
you for everybody for bearing with us. I'm going to hand straight back over to Claudia, and she can crack on with the presentation.
Yeah, this is definitely live. You can tell. Yep, this was not intended nor planned for. So I'm very sorry about this entire thing. My stupid, but now everything should be up and running and stable, at least I hope, for the next 40 minutes.
That's super. Andrea, could you share Claudia's presentation again, please? And we'll press on. We'll talk a bit more about the social event later. Claudia, can you just share the presentation again, please?
Yes, hold on. Share file. Share screen. Do you see the presentation?
It's not there quite yet.
Share. It did work before, so I'm not really sure why it has a problem now. Oh, I'm sorry, here we go.
Thank
now.
you. That's great. Thank you, Klaudia.
Yeah, fun. So I'm awake now. I was awake before, but I'm definitely awake now. So Debbie, can you just confirm the last time you can see the screen?
We can see the screen.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'm not really sure when I was cut off. What I wanted to show you here is actually the succession, how AI developed, and also show you the bandwidth of different topics that are covered by the word of AI. And the development of AI was not a straight road, so it really came in waves. It had ups and it definitely had downs. I can tell you from a very personal experience at my university here in Erlangen, we did have an AI chair, or not an entire department, but one chair, and it was closed down in 2000 because there was no more funding for it. So AI had its ups and downs. And right now we're definitely talking about a lot of up, because machine learning is really increasing quite a lot. And it sparked a huge interest in the industry. And we have a lot of examples and a lot of applications where machine learning is the hot topic. So machine learning is the name of the game. What does machine learning mostly use? We're talking about artificial neural networks here. We're talking about statistical learning. So the systems learn, they change themselves. So it's a self-improving system. And why was that leap in usage in the industry possible? Well, that was due to the fact that processing power has increased and the cost for processing power has decreased. The amount of processing power that is available has increased by far. So that is number one. Processing power is there. And number two is, in order for machine learning algorithms to learn, they need data. And if you look back for the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we have a lot of data. We collect a lot of data. If you go back 50, 60 years, that was not the case. So this push was really possible due to the reduced prices for processing power and due to the data that is available. If we look at different applications, well, medical diagnosis, the possibility to recognize or identify, for example, tumor cells and stuff like that, a lot of AI image recognition systems are being used there. Then in production, it is used in order to avoid collisions of different robots. Predictive maintenance, you collect a lot of data about machines, about turbines, I think would be the word in English. And based on the data, you use a machine learning algorithm or a particular learning algorithm that makes predictions when you should do some maintenance. So predictive maintenance is a topic. Autonomous driving, for sure. I mean, we don't even need to talk about autonomous driving. The system in the car needs to recognize the environment. It needs to recognize the other cars in its environment, and the fixed stuff, the roads, the signs, and so on. So autonomous driving uses a lot. Then, of course, and this is what all you know, recommendation systems in web shops. Definitely. They look at your profile, they look at your data, and then they make recommendations. This is all AI. Voice recognition, whether it's Siri or whether it's Cortana, a different tool. So voice recognition is a thing there. And the 6 applications that are shown here on the screen are just the tip of the iceberg. We have AI in spam filters. We have AI, for example, also in translation systems. So DeepL is a very interesting and very good tool to translate text from one language to the other. So AI really has not, I wouldn't call it conquered the world, but it is in a lot of areas. So we're not only talking about some robots like Terminator that come back from the future. We're talking about smart applications that use machine learning, that use neural networks in order to become better and have a better system. So we have a lot of applications. And if you look at the Gartner hype cycle for AI, there is still a lot to come. Of course, we also have these valley of disillusionment, but there is still a lot of topics that will pop up, whether it's specific hardware dedicated to that purpose, ethics or intelligent applications. This is still all coming. So it is very much still a hype topic. And besides being a hype topic, I think what is more relevant for a lot of us, especially if you're into business, is that there is a lot of money to take. To take also, but also to make. So here you can see from a source from LearnBounce, what they did is a prognosis of the revenue on AI-based systems, artificial intelligence software market in the time frame from 2018 to 2025, and we are right here in the middle with 21, and the curve goes up. So in 25, they're expecting roughly $120 billion to be spent in that industry. So it really is a market that is very attractive. So coming from ISTQB, coming from AI, how do these two go together? And this is actually something really interesting, because exactly 2 years ago in 2019, in the time frame of September, October, we had 3 different interest groups, independent, and this is the most amazing part, independent interest group developing syllabi on software testing and AI. The one to your very right is the syllabus coming from the Korean and Chinese software testing boards. So we're talking about specialists, AI specialists, people from industry, people from the university in the far eastern side of the world, at least from Europe, far east, so Japan and Korea and China. Then we had Artificial Intelligence United, that is the syllabus in the middle. That was mostly driven from the Indian testing board, so we're talking about experts coming from India. And A4Q, I think I don't need to talk a lot about A4Q I am presenting at the A4Q World Congress. So A4Q has expert from Europe, has expert from South America, from different parts of the world. And these 3 groups came up independently with their own syllabus. As you can see from the name, the Korean Software Testing Board is part of ISTQB. The Indian Testing Board, despite the fact that it's not written in the name, is part, in the name of the syllabus, is part of the ISTQB ecosphere or the ecosystem, and A4Q also, ISKI and GASC definitely as exam providers. So what happened 2 years ago is actually that man said, we are going to work together. It doesn't make any sense to have 3 independent syllabi. We're going to work together, and we are going to come up with a commonly agreed syllabus, which will be called ISTQB, which will be an ISTQB syllabus, a certified tester on AI testing. And this is actually when I came into the picture and when all the work started. So in January 2020, what we did is we agreed on business objectives that we try to achieve. And please keep in mind, we are talking about a task force and expert groups from experts from these 3 different syllabi. So people that are knowledgeable in the area, who have experience, who have know-how, and they need to agree on a common view, on a common vision, what AI testing should be. So we agreed on 7 business objectives. We put the learning objectives and the hands-on objectives, because of course each syllabi had like a slightly different flavor. And one of them put more emphasis on hands-on, one of them put a little bit more emphasis on developing the history of AI. So we put all these learning objectives, we mapped them to the business outcomes, we put all these learning objectives next to each other, and then we discussed. We discussed quite a lot. We discussed, we quarreled, we thought, we fought a little bit, and then it was like a bit of technical diplomacy. We walked through all the learning objectives, as you can see here on the right. The screenshot in large is just the little red square in the upper right corner. And at the end, we came to an agreement. So it was a lot of hard work, a lot of very interesting discussion. And we said, okay, we need an introduction to AI. And we will have a focus on machine learning, since machine learning is the technique that is really driving the market right now. So AI will be in the middle, and if you are not an expert in AI, that's fine, because that's a first introduction. Then as a second part, we will talk about how to test AI-based systems. And then as a third part, we will talk how AI can be used to support testing. So these are the three chunks. They are not split a third, a third, a third. That's not the case. But content-wise, first we have the introduction, and then we have testing of AI-based systems. And then the last part, which is the smallest part, how to use AI for testing. And I want to give you a little more insight. What is the content right now? So when we are talking about introduction to AI, what are we talking about in the syllabus? What will be what is the content of the syllabus? So we start with the definition of artificial intelligence, try to move it away or to clearly distinguish with a human intelligence, which is trickier than one might think. So what is AI at all? So the definition. Then there are different types of AI, narrow AI, super AI. There are also synonym words that are used. So we have weak AI, strong AI, and that is all taken care of. We have a glossary at the very end where the terms are mapped. So we talk about these. Then we're also looking into different AI technologies. We at least wanted to sketch them. AI is definitely much more than just machine learning. We have reasoning system, we have deduction systems. And even for machine learning, there are lots of different ways to do it. So we'll talk briefly about AI technologies. We are also going into development framework and hardware. We figured, or we discussed and decided that that was important, since hardware enables us to actually do all the work. If we wouldn't have the specific hardware, it would be way harder to do. So we're talking briefly about these topics too. And then a central point is actually quality characteristics. So self-learning system, autonomous systems. Then the topic of bias, is an algorithm biased towards one particular group or not? Ethics, how can you explain AI-based systems in order to understand why they decide, how they decide? So we're talking about quality characteristics. And then, as I said, the main part is really about machine learning. So what does machine learning mean? We're looking at supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and then we're going through the workflow. So from the first data that you need, from the quality assurance on the data, developing the feature or coming up with the features, and going through all the steps. You need to set up the data pipeline. You need for the system to learn. So you have this learning period, and then you have a test period, and then you have a validation period. So this is the machine learning workflow, and that will be explained in detail. We also look at different metrics. How can you evaluate whether the algorithm is good or bad? So we have stuff like a confusion matrix, false positive, false negative, recall, and so on. And of course, neural networks are also part of the game. As I said, the main focus is on machine learning, but of course, we will also cover neural networks. So this is the introduction to AI. Then the second part is testing of AI-based systems. What we did there is that we actually started from the traditional test levels that we all know, like component test, integration test, system test, and acceptance test, and had a look, what do we need for AI-based systems? And we decided that we are going to have some additional steps or test levels actually before these traditional ones. So input data testing. The quality of the data is essential, because the data is the stuff from which the algorithm learns how to behave. So input data test, then the ML model testing. So we have additional test levels. Then we're talking about data, test data, how you split it into learning, testing, validation. We talk about testing for automation bias. We're talking about testing for concept drift if the underlying assumptions change. Let me give you a brief example. If we have a recommender system for an online platform and the customer behavior changes, and let's just take Corona and let's go back 2 years. Nobody would have looked for masks. Now everybody not everybody, but a lot of people are looking for that. So the underlying concept, what people are looking for, changes. So that's the concept drift. So testing for concept drift, we'll talk about that. And then definitely testing AI specific quality characteristics. How do you test an autonomous system? How do you test a system that learns? Normally in a test case, you have the preconditions, you have the steps, you have the post conditions, and you know what to expect. Now, as a result, now when the system learns, the expected result changes. How do you deal with that if you don't know what it exactly is, how the system will react? So test oracles for AI-based systems are really thrilling, and there will be another presentation in the conference on this topic. What we also cover, I think, in a lot of detail are actually different techniques for testing. So we're talking about metamorphic testing, we're talking about A/B testing, how you can use it. We're talking about adversarial attacks on the system, about data poisoning. You can, as I said, data is the most essential part since the system is learning from the data. So what happens if you flip some bytes within your data and poison the data? How does that reflect on the result? So methods and techniques for the testing of AI-based systems are also a part of the syllabus. And of course, we're also talking about test environments, because if you just take autonomous system as an example, autonomous driving, how does the test environment have to look like so that you can test it? What do you simulate? We're going into the area of virtual test environments. You have a lot of input. Autonomous driving, you have the input for the road, you have the input for the weather, you have the input from other traffic participants that are acting, you have your own system moving forward, accelerating, braking. So how do you take care of all of that? So really also a very interesting topic and more. I tried to give you here the highlights, what really is part of the syllabus. So that is testing AI-based systems, which is a huge part of the syllabus. Then the last part is actually using AI for testing. And this is something that is a smaller part. What we're looking at, we're discussing at the beginning what kind of techniques or technologies are actually possible to support testing. There are a lot of tools out there that claim to have AI in them, but you have to be very careful, actually look very thoroughly whether that's AI or just some smart marketing. But there are some uses already of AI in the system of testing, so for testing. We will definitely look at the analysis of defects, so reported defects. How can you use AI to do that? How does it support you? Then for test case generation, the optimization of regression test suite, try to figure out if you have duplicates and stuff like that. We're showing the use of AI for defect prediction and also for testing user interfaces. So this will also be a part, and I would assume that as time progresses and the technology still evolves still evolves, in the next version of the syllabus, I'm pretty sure we will have even more on that section. So these are the three parts. The happy news is that the syllabus was developed. We have a 4-day training with a lot of hands-on exercises, so you're actually forced to do it by yourself. You get to model a perceptron, to actually use a system to do defect prediction. We have quite nice exercises where you're actually using a system and show the AI parts or learn about the AI parts in there. And what is on the right-hand side of the slide is actually the table of content. Here you can see the introduction, then the huge focus on machine learning. Don't be scared, it's 4 chapters, but they're not all the same length. So it's basically just one huge part on machine learning, and then we're talking about testing AI-based systems, methods for AI-based systems, test environment, and then the last part, chapter 11, is using AI for testing. Now, I'm very, very, very happy, definitely in my role as the head of the task force, that we passed the release motion at the last ISTQB GA, which took place on October 1st. So it has been released, and yeah, and my champagne is coming in. We did celebrate because it was a lot of effort, and I'm very happy that it went through so nicely. And it was also launched. So the launch of the syllabus happened on October 12th in the night from 12th to 13th. And you can have a look at this. You can download the syllabus. You can have a look at the sample exam, the accreditation guidelines, and all the documents that are in that release package. The next steps are actually to do marketing. So I'm very happy that I was able or invited to speak at this conference. I think we have a brilliant product. I think we have a product that is really worth promoting. And I also think there is a lot of need actually to have a look at that. And just judging from the feedback we got after the launch, we know that a localization of the syllabus into French has already started. We know that the same effort has already started in China, so there will be a localization to Chinese. And definitely in Germany, we also started to work on it. We have proceeded so far that we already translated the keywords, and now we're moving into the main text. So there is a market need, and I think the syllabus is really worth looking into and using it. So yes, Chaka, we made it. And starting from 1st of October, it is also officially part of the portfolio picture. So AI testing, I'm not sure why they put it on top, but I think it's very nice. So it's the topmost specialist model. So AI testing is out there. I'm very, very happy. All of this work, as you can imagine, was not possible, or it was not possible to do it by myself. So I have to thank at this point the task force. And you can see we had people from A4Q, we had people from AIU, we had people from the Chinese board, from the Korean board, we had people from ISTQB joining. So it was really a worldwide, I would put it like that, it's a worldwide effort with experts from Japan all the way to Europe or even further. So it was really a joint effort to come to an agreement, to an understanding what like an introduction to the topic of AI-based testing would be. So the task force really deserves a round of applause, and definitely also the different working groups within ISTQB. So marketing for getting the syllabus out in a beautiful 11 days. So that was breathtaking. For exam, to look at the sample exam questions, that they have a high quality, and of course also to glossary to make sure that the terminology is understood. And I'm done with my slides, and I would be open for question. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Debbie, I don't see the chat. Did anything come in?
We did, and the team will actually share the questions on the screen now. I just want to say, first of all, Klaudia, thank you so much for that. You know, we've been watching AI, machine learning, the use of data, etc., over the last couple of years, and it all seemed a little bit futuristic, perhaps.
Yeah.
The reality is it's here and it's now, and businesses are really starting to leverage AI to gain competitive advantage.
Yes.
And you know, it's really shaping our world. So I think this is absolutely at the right time. Let's go straight into some questions. First of all, from Fook, how do I acquire the necessary knowledge to be able to be certified in AI by ISTQB?
Well, you can, of course, go into a training. The syllabus was just launched October 12th, and we already have people or training companies, training providers working on it. So you could go through a training that hopefully will be available soon, but I'm pretty sure, because we already talked to people sharing slides and coming up with the training really quickly. And once you've done that, you can go through the certification, so you can take the exam. There is the prerequisite that you have the foundation level in order to understand what general testing is all about, but that's about it. You can have a look at the syllabus right away. You can have a look at the sample exam right away. All the material is available on the ISTQB website, and as soon as the exam providers are ready to give the exams, you could go and start.
Thank you, Klaudia. I think one of the important things just to say to people is please remember to look for accredited training. If people are offering ISTQB training, it should be accredited, so watch out for that. Another comment I would make is that the syllabus is typical of an ISTQB syllabus, and it's detailed by learning objectives. So actually using it as a study aid is actually, quite effective compared to other syllabi that I've seen out in the market. And a final point is I think exams are available. I know that through A4Q there are exams out there in the market. So people who are at the point of readiness to study, go for it.
It's a brand new baby. Yeah, I would say it. So it just came out, and I'm still very excited because it was so much work. But it was honest work and good work, and we came to an agreement. And for me, that is one of the most relevant points. So this is not the understanding of one individual. It is the understanding after a lot of discussions and a lot of lively discussions going back and forward what should be in there. So I think it's really valuable to have a look.
And a global standard, we're bringing together people from across the world who's with expertise, I think are really important to say as also. Martin is asking, is ISTQB AI tester certification a specific certification exam, or is it going to be inside the general certification syllabus? So, yeah.
There is there is a specific exam connected to that syllabus. Yeah. So it's the standard procedure, like for all other syllabi we have in ISTQB. So there will be a specific exam for that. Yes.
Perfect. Jorge, we are talking about testing AI, but there is also a trend where AI will do the testing. Where and how will the testers be positioned in the SDL when the AI will do the testing?
Now that is a very interesting question. I don't think that AI will replace the tester. I think there will be still a lot of work to be done in the entire workflow. From my point of view, we need to place much more emphasis on the test data in comparison to traditional testing, because the machine learning algorithms use the data as the input. So I think quality assurance testing of the input data is really going to be a bigger part. And I still believe that setting up the pipeline, taking care of the entire workflow, making sure that we look at something like bias or ethics, that is something that will not, from my point of view, never be done by the AI itself. So there will always be parts that will be dealt by testers, by humans.
I think you said, Klaudia, that the syllabus has two components. One is testing AI-based systems, and the other bit is actually using AI for testing. So actually, this is covered in the syllabus.
Yeah. But we're not this is the overall picture. So we're not discussing whether AI will overtake all the tasks the tester has been doing. Definitely not. But we are also showing how AI techniques can be used to support testing. That for sure, that is covered.
Thank you. When do you think the AI syllabus is going to be available in Spanish?
Oh, I don't know. I need to ask. I need to talk to the Spanish board. I know about the French guys because they came forward to me and told me. I know about the Chinese guys because they requested some documents for ease of translation. And I know about the German guys because I'm from the German board and I'm pushing it very hard. I hope to get it out by the end of the year. So I don't know, but I will inquire and get back to you.
You watch this space. Ray, what is your point of view about the immediate future of machine learning AI, specifically in the cybersecurity field?
That is also a very thrilling topic. Security is, of course, very, very important. We want to make sure that the applications that we have are secure. If you can use a lot of AI-supported systems in security, for example, if you go into the direction of fraud detection and stuff like that, you could, I think, use AI-based systems there. Using AI to support testing there, I would have to think about that. I'm not quite sure how you would do it right now. Perhaps the data. Yeah. I need to think about that, but it is an important topic. Security, of course, is also a quality characteristic that a system should fulfill. And depending on your application, you would need to spend more time on it and more emphasis than for one than for the other. So it is covered a little bit within the syllabus, but it's not the major topic.
Yes, thank you. Cabela, may I ask, on the ISTQB page, can I use the A4Q sample exam to prepare for the exam? Maybe I can ask this one. I think we've got some exams, I think, on the A4Q page, and they are the official ISTQB. It's the official ISTQB sample exam.
Okay. Okay.
So,
yeah, the three, well, let me just see if I can go through fast. The three source syllabi, they will be grandfathered. So if you are already out and have a certificate coming from A4Q, AIU, or from the Korean Chinese syllabus, they will be grandfathered. And the agreement is to have a sunset period of a year after the launch. So they will slowly go away, and then the focus will be on the ISTQB exam or the ISTQB certificate.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You got a thank you there from Ray. Thank you. Is there any further? AI and ML machine learning are seen as highly specialized domains. Is this something that an early mid-career tester can aspire to develop skills in?
I'm not really sure if I understood the question correctly.
So, highly specialized domains.
Yes.
Something that early mid-career testers can aspire to actually, become specialized in.
Yeah.
Is the certification for anybody in testing, or is it for the specialists?
No, I think it is an occasion for anybody in testing. I talked about the history of AI, and from my point of view, AI is moving out of the area of specialists. So given the machine learning, given the neural networks, given the hardware that is readily available, given pre-trained models, you can buy pre-trained models, it's moving out of this specialist or out of this niche, and it's touching more and more and more applications. So from my point of view, since it is touching so many areas now, you still can get into it and have a look. I started to work with AI 2 years ago when I did some research, or actually when I went to our basement and looked at old books. I saw that during my computer science study, I already had an AI class on search algorithms, so that only shows the bandwidth of AI stuff. But I think it's still possible. You can get into a new technology. It's with every new technology. You need to spend time and effort, but you can get into it. And the applications are going to increase and increase. So I think there's a real demand to get knowledgeable now, learn about it, and apply it. So no, it's not, from my point of view, it's not a closed shop thing. It's not only for specialists. It's opening up. It's broadening. The use is broadening.
Klaudia, thank you. Thank you very much. And the audience are also saying thank you very much as well. We've come to the end of this session. Thank you to Klaudia for the presentation and for sharing that with us and answering questions. Thank you to everybody who's actually joined us. Great to see you, and stay tuned for the next session on this A4Q Congress.
And again, my apologies for the technical break in between. I'm very sorry about that.
It's really live here. This is proper.
We're live, definitely.
And a quick reminder, an Oktoberfest will pop up soon. So hope to see a lot of you there. Take good care. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
This 27th of October, we wait for you to celebrate Oktoberfest in our gather town. For sure, it will be a very entertaining event with live music, with A4Q staff, and of course, all of you. Don't miss our A4Q Oktoberfest. It will be very fun. Prost!